Good morning and welcome to your Friday Faith Fill Up. There's a verse in Galatians chapter 6, verse number 7, that's pretty familiar with most people. It says, "Be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap." There's a simple principle there of sowing and reaping. What you put in the ground, that's what you're going to grow every time. There's no way around it. But this is given with the first statement, "Be not deceived, God is not mocked." He's the one that gives the end result. So that's something we ought to pay attention to. But I was thinking about that verse and just the principle of sowing and reaping and how it applies to so many different things in life. The one thing that I was thinking of was relationships, how you treat people, how you talk to people. There's one man in the Bible that I really think a lot of, and I think we all probably do, David. David was a man that was loyal. He was loyal, first of all, to God. That was his drive in his life. Read through the Psalms, you're going to find that. But when you look at the life of David, when Saul was king and David had already been anointed king, he understood what the way things worked and the way that they should be working. And he had opportunity on a couple of occasions to take the life of Saul, but he wouldn't do that. And he said something along the lines of, "I'm not going to touch God's anointed." There was a loyalty there, most importantly, as I said, to God, but also even to the man that was still sitting on the throne. That was something about David that was just extraordinary, that I think we really all could learn from in the sense of loyalty, but that's not what I'm necessarily talking about. But that's what he was. This wasn't a part that he played. That is genuinely who David was. Then you fast forward, David becomes king. He rules over the kingdom for a good while, for 40 years. And there's a list that is written of his mighty men. And it's interesting as you look through those men and what you find out about them, looking at other scriptures, those that you can. You find out some interesting things that took place. But the thing that you found in all of them is the same thing that you find at the very end, and that is that Uriah the Hittite is named there. You talk about loyal. There is a man that was loyal to David, and David at the end was not loyal to him, but ultimately he was loyal to David even to death. There are so many men in David's life that were loyal, and they just continued to be loyal to him, and what a blessing it was for him. But for us to be able to see that, David was somebody that was loyal, and when he got put into the place of leadership, there were people around him that were loyal, and that was such a help to him. There were those that weren't. Certainly there were those. I think Joab probably fits into that category. We could name a few others. But ultimately, he was surrounded by people that were loyal, I believe, because he was somebody that was loyal. The Bible tells us, "Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap." What is it like in our relationships? Are we being the way that we should with people? If we are, we're going to see some fruit from that. We're going to have people being the same way with us, regardless of how it is. Recently, I was having a conversation with somebody, and they said, it just kind of feels like people don't like me. And I started talking to this person about some of the things that were going on in their life, and we got down to how they're treating people. And they gave some instances about them standing up for themselves and different instances. And I listened as they explained away some of their mean behavior to other people. And at the end of the conversation, I said, "Well, so what you're telling me is that people are kind of being a jerk to you." He said, "Yeah, that's exactly what's going on." And I said, "Well, it's probably because you're being a jerk to them." Well, now, that probably wasn't kind of me to say, but it really was the truth. Listen, the way that we treat people is the way we're going to get treated. What you put in the ground is what you're going to pull out. So let's be kind. Let's love people the way that God tells us to love people, whether it be our brethren or whether it be all men. Let's just love people the way that God does. And I think we will see some fruit in our lives from that. Well, I hope this has been a blessing to you. We'll see you on Sunday morning.